The men search for the monster, asking where it could have gone. Meanwhile, the girl runs through the woods, her heart pounding. Her siblings were caught and murdered. She prays some of them escaped, their deaths are her fault. She is the monster. An arrow strikes her side. Dogs bark as voices rise behind her, saying they've found it and it must die. They must not let it escape. Maybe it's better if she dies. If the world hates her this much, if they call her a monster and want her dead, maybe she truly is one. She runs gasping for air, asking why she has to die like this. She never asked to be born a monster, and she does not want to die. She leaps into the river, sinking fast, water closing in around her lungs, screaming. A girl stands in a crowded place. She finds it magnificent, realizing she has never seen so many people before. Then she remembers she needs money first. She walks to a building and stops outside the door, thinking this must be the mercenary guild. It looks small. Mercenaries are part of the military force, so they are managed by the government. Even so, a mercenary guild exists. All mercenaries must enlist here, and some jobs are only commissioned through the guild. She opens the door and steps in, drawing the attention of everyone inside. They wonder if she is a visitor. Someone asks if she is here to make a request. She says she wants to enlist as a mercenary. The woman looks at her from head to toe and says sorry, but they don't accept runaway children. She tells her she is not a runaway, and she is not a child. She states she is a sorceress. People begin to murmur as the woman tells her to come this way. Callie takes her to a room and introduces herself as the manager of the place. She asks if she is really a sorceress, saying she has only met frauds who claim that title, and real sorceresses are rare, so she wants to know if she is the real thing. The girl replies that she is, while wondering why the manager is speaking to her so bluntly and thinking that if she does not speak politely, then neither will she. Callie asks her to prove it, saying she does not want to see the seal of the ice tower or anything like that. No tricks, just real magic. And she even smirks as she warns that if she tries to fool her, she will take her robe and kick her out. The girl wonders what kind of magic to show her, then pulls out a wand and says the wand isn't necessary, but she prefers using it as it makes things easier. She recites a spell and the space around them changes. Callie is taken off guard and asks where in the world she is. The girl tells her that this is just an illusion, but everything feels real, from the fresh smell of wheat grass to the brilliant colors of the sky, the brush of the wheat against her fingertips, and the distant voice of the sky's song. Callie finds it hard to believe it is an illusion, but then they return to the room. She gulps and realizes the girl really is a sorceress. The girl confirms it and asks if she can enlist as a mercenary now. Callie says of course, and tells her she will be the first sorceress mercenary, so she will be placed in first class. The girl wonders if mercenaries have classes and what first class means, though it sounds like something high. She asks how many classes there are, and Callie tells her there are 5, with first being the highest, before correcting herself and saying there is also an S-class above that. She gives the girl a form and asks if she will fill it out. As she is about to write, a man enters the room, and Callie asks her to wait a moment because she has a visitor. Callie looks up and is taken aback when she sees that it is Karsus. Karsus greets Callie while the sorceress's heart races, unable to take her eyes off him. He calls out to her, asking if she is a sorceress, and she nervously replies that it is true. She finds herself completely lost in him, and he looks slightly confused before commenting that he knows he is handsome, but she doesn't have to stare at him like that. He introduces himself as Karsus Lien. She suddenly runs to him and stretches out her arms, causing him to flinch as she grabs his face. She silently confirms that this is the face of her swordsman, one of the 2 most important people in her life, and tells him she never imagined they would meet like this. He is completely taken aback as she begins to cry, saying that she is finally so happy to see him. Even Callie looks surprised. Karsus asks if she is okay, and she quickly takes a step back and apologizes, saying she must have startled him. He replies that it is all right, though he doesn't know why she did that. She looks confused and asks if he doesn't remember her. He studies her closely and tells her he doesn't think he knows her, adding that he would never forget a beautiful girl with dark hair and eyes like hers. She blushes and tells him that she was very small when they met, so it makes sense he wouldn't remember. She says she's the wolf girl who lived with the wolves. He replies that must have been 10 years ago, and she really was that small then, and he would have been only a teenager too, but he thinks he would remember a wolf girl. She thinks to herself that he is exactly the same as the man in her memories and wonders if humans do not age. She asks how old he is, and he tells her he is 26. She apologizes and says she must have made a mistake. He seems awkward for a moment before saying that is too bad. She knows he looks exactly the same, but the swordsman back then was already an adult, so it must be a different person. He wonders aloud what kind of person that man was for her to make such a face. She tells him that he's the one who took her to the top of the sorcerer's tower, and he looked just like him. Karsus asks if there are two of him, saying that this pretty face is hard to duplicate. She cringes at the fact that he called himself pretty and thinks there really are all kinds of people in this world. Callie then points at Karsus and asks what brought him here. He grabs the sorceress by the arm and says he's here for her. Of course. She looks confused and asks what he means, who he is, and what is going on. He asks if she hasn't heard from Arcana or the Ice Tower and is surprised when she says no. Callie steps forward and asks what's going on, urging him to explain, then turns to the sorceress and asks if she is enlisting. Karsus finds it strange that a sorceress wants to become a mercenary and asks why. She answers that she needs money. He asks how about not enlisting and having a talk with him first. Callie cuts in, saying she doesn't care if he's the vagabond, but this crosses the line and he can't just drag someone off. He smirks and tells Callie not to be like that. He mentions that it looks like she did not even read her the contract before making her fill out all the registration form. Callie snatches the contract form and tells him he owes her one. He grabs the sorceress's hand and takes her out while thanking sweet and beautiful Callie. He takes her somewhere as she wonders what is happening. She then realizes she has not hid the wand yet and hides it. He looks inside her sleeves as she tells simultaneous magic. He asks her where she is staying. She tells him at the Silver Horseshoe Inn. He tells her that they should go and walk there. A man steps behind them. Karsus asks if she brought that shirt from the tower, and she replies that she bought it because everything else was too expensive, so she had no choice. When he asks how much it was, she says 1,000 curve and explains that when she asked the shopkeeper why things cost so much, he told her she didn't know the market rates and said it was a great price. She says she guesses she was ripped off and jokes that she should have turned him into a frog, which makes Karsus flinch as he imagines it. He tells her she could have bought 20 shirts with that amount and asks if that's why she was going to enlist. She answers that she studied hard before stepping into the world, even knowing people would try to cheat her, but it still wasn't enough. She seems frustrated and thinks that once she gets back to the inn, she's going to tear the shirt to pieces. Karsus tells her it's natural and that reality is different from theory. She silently reflects that she knew it. He's the same as the swordsman she remembers. Or maybe her memory is already so blurry she's mixing them up. After a while, their drinks are served, and Karsus notices a man eavesdropping before asking her if she's going to tell him her name. She says she's Sika Wolf, and when he asks if she means wolf as in the animal, he comments that it's an interesting last name and asks if she's related to the Wolf Company from Silva. She replies she's never heard of them and jokes that they're not related by a wolf's hair, asking him to just call her Sika. He says Sika is cute and adds he's glad she's a nice person because dealing with Arcana had been difficult. She perks up and asks if he's met Arcana, and he says they were introduced 2 months ago and he can't believe they didn't contact her. She explains she's been out of touch with the tower for a while, and when he asks if she contacts them regularly, she says it's not required and she was busy settling in, plus she didn't want to be nagged. He thinks they would have sent someone more experienced and wonders if the Ice Tower doesn't see this as important but says he'll ask her again. She thinks that if the Ice Tower or Arcana sent her, it must be serious. When he asks if she knows about the evil beasts, she nods and says she's aware. He tells her that the western part of the empire borders the Black Forest, and beyond that lies the Red Forest in the southwest, where a tribe with an enchanter lives. He suspects the evil beasts appearing there are being summoned and says he isn't an expert in that area, so he's relying on a sorcerer's help. She says she'd like to ask something in return. She wants help finding someone. He agrees and, before sealing the deal, asks how skilled she is, mentioning that he's one of the top 5 in the empire. Though the Ice Tower recommended her, he still wants to hear it from her. She says he must be concerned because of how she looks, and he admits he is, a little. She thinks he probably sees her as a teenage-looking sorceress who gets scammed and doesn't seem trustworthy, and wonders if it's good or bad that he's asking her now. Raising her hand, she says she's one of the top 5 in the tower and she's not exaggerating. He says that if that's true, then he'll trust her, thinking that while swordsmen are scattered across the empire, all the sorcerers are in the Ice Tower, so she must be one of the best in the country. He asks if he can begin the search after she helps him, and she tells him she's not in a rush. When he asks who she's looking for, she says her twin. She explains they were together even before birth, and everyone around them seemed ready to harm them, which always scared her, but she was never truly afraid because she wasn't alone. She says she's not just looking for a lost brother but her other half. He asks if she has any leads, saying he can make a request to gather information while they travel to the Red Forest. She says they were separated right after birth, so she doesn't remember much, only that he had brown hair and she doesn't know the color of his eyes. Karsus guesses they were aristocrats and wonders if their mother had a mental illness, but says that's a vague lead and asks if there's anyone else. When she asks what he means, he asks if she's not thinking of the man who looks like her twin. She says she's not going to look for that swordsman. Karsus asks if she knows his name, and she tells him he never gave it. He just asked to be called the swordsman, so that's what she calls him, and to her, he's the only swordsman. Karsus smirks and repeats, the only, and she adds that he said they'd meet again, and she believes they will, even if she doesn't search. When he asks if she believes in fate, she says she just believes they'll meet again. He offers to walk her to the inn and says he'll stop by before morning, but she says she can find her own way back. As she leaves, the man who was watching them notices her. Later that night, while she sleeps, a man steps into her room and smirks, saying the lock of a cheap inn is as good as nothing, and the door creaks open as his eyes fall on her sleeping. Before he can step inside the room, Karsus holds a knife to the man's throat, signaling him to stay silent. Karsus wonders what he is doing here. The man shudders and says he just confused the rooms. Karsus tells him he saw him coming out of the next room. The man replies that he only wanted to chat with the girl next door. Karsus pulls out his robe and club, asking if he needs those to have a conversation. The man says he has them because he is a mercenary. Karsus then asks about the gag. The man starts sweating in fear before Karsus lets him go and tells him to leave and never come back. He thanks Karsus and says he will never do it again. The man runs to a corner, angry, wondering if that person can do whatever he wants just because he is a master. Before he can say anything else, he is stabbed from behind and falls to the ground. Karsus thinks that he is bound to ruin someone's life and knows he cannot let him live. He then wonders why Sika is staying in a place like this, knowing it is unsafe. Morning comes, and she wakes up. She washes her face and finds the water cold. She changes her clothes and seems to be in a good mood. Later, she talks with someone who tells her that he found her in 2 months. She apologizes for making him wander around and says she should have contacted him more often. He tells her no, he should suffer a bit. She asks him if he did something, and he replies with something like that. She asks about Karsus and wonders if he is a good person. He tells her not to worry about him since he is just a vagabond. He asks if she does not know about the 4 masters. She says she does not. He explains that a master is an aura user. When a sword reaches ultra instinct, aura can be used, and the body forms something called an aura core. Among the strongest are 4 masters in the capital: Veramud the Black Knight, Sigrid the Silver Knight, Yutalu the Berserker, and the Vagabond. She thinks so. He is a master, and she has heard there are only about 10 in the Empire. He tells her that Karsus would not cheat on her or anything. She replies that they cannot know that. Who knows what's hidden in someone's mind? He tells her it is a good mindset and apologizes for giving her such a hard task, but she is the only one he can trust. She says that if it is about the veil, then he made the right choice. He says he hopes the enchanter is not tearing it on purpose. She replies she feels the same. She thinks everyone has darkness in their heart to overcome. Aging is interesting to her, but she wonders what happens when they are in their 40s or 50s, or even 100 and still have not aged. Sorcerers and masters live longer and age slower. She thinks if that is the reason, then she will not worry, but she knows that no one can guess the lifespan of an evil beast. She has thought about it for over 10 years and found no answers. The swordsman once told her that he loved her as she was and that she was not a monster. She realizes it is time to leave and walks down the stairs. Karsus sees her and calls out, asking if she slept well. She says yes and asks when he got there. He tells her a while ago and asks if she wants breakfast and if spicy food is alright. She says yes. He asks for 2 stews and thinks to himself that it is the only edible food in the place. She takes a bite and finds it really good. Around them, people talk about how a mercenary died last night, saying the place is getting too scary. She looks surprised, and Karsus comments that they are already talking about murder in the morning, thinking it must be a rough city. He tells her she should spend more and stay somewhere safer, saying someone her age should be more careful. She tells him she is 25, though she looks younger for not very good reasons. He smirks and says he is definitely not the sweetheart she is looking for. She starts to blush as he says he would not want to be the target of such strong feelings, but he does wonder who that person might be. She asks if he would dislike it if she said she had liked him for a long time. He says no, most people would appreciate it. Deep feelings are usually welcome. She asks what about him, if he does not like it. He tells her no, he does not look down on it, but it makes him uncomfortable. At that moment, a man steps in with his army and walks to their table. Karsus greets him and calls him Tila. Tila slams Karsus's knife onto the table and says it was found on the body today. He adds that no one but the vagabond could have done that. Karsus tells Tila that he knows she cannot stomach this kind of stuff. So did she really have to bring it to the breakfast table? Tila seems a bit taken aback. Karsus also tells her that he's glad she thinks so highly of him, but mentions that there are others who are also capable of this. Tila glares at him while Karsus says she's making him blush with that hot stare. Karsus then adds that he's aware he's the most good-looking man in the city. Sika is totally shocked by the way he is talking in front of the chief guard. Suddenly, Tila grabs him and yells at him. She tells Karsus that just because he's the great vagabond, he should not think he is above the law. Karsus responds that he will keep that in mind, and Tila lets go of him. She then looks at Sika and asks what brings her here. Sika tells her that she has some business in the southwest and is seeking help. Tila asks what kind of business it is. Sika replies that it's nothing much, just that the number of evil beasts has gone up. Tila then asks if she is with Karsus and tells her she would do better to keep her distance from him. She says Sika seems like the daughter of a nice family. Karsus states that Sika is not a child and that she is his heir, an expert on evil beasts. Tila says she is leaving because she does not have enough evidence to prove he is the murderer, but warns Karsus not to go sticking his nose around if he wants to stay alive. Karsus asks if Tila is worried about him and says they're not even that close for her to be concerned. Tila tells him to shut up and leaves. Karsus waves her goodbye. Sika ponders that Tila is tall, thinking that she looks over 175 centimeters and she wishes she was that tall. She thinks of her as a tall, big heart and a good person. She remembers that Tila had asked her if she was a sorceress and then apologized to her. She knows that people usually don't react well when she says she is a sorceress, so she was surprised that Tila apologized. She then asks Karsus why he talks like that. He asks what she means. She says that even though he claims he doesn't want attention, he speaks like someone who does. He replies that it's because he is a shallow person, but he won't become self-destructive or anything if people ignore him. Then he points out that the stew has gotten cold, so they should finish up and go. She thinks about what he said and wonders if a shallow person would really go around trying to deal with the evil beasts. At first, he seems insincere and frivolous, but then he doesn't, so she finds him strange enough. She asks how he knows the chief guard. He tells her they were in the same fight once. She asks if it was as comrades in arms, but he says they were more like enemies. He explains that he killed her husband. She is completely taken aback and asks why he did that. He asks why she wants to know. She replies that Tila doesn't seem like someone who would let go of revenge, so she thought there must have been a reason. He says that everyone has secrets, and she keeps throwing questions at him. Usually, people either get angry or stop talking. She quickly apologizes, saying that wasn't her intention. He responds that intentions matter, and he knows she didn't mean it that way, so he will let it go this time, but not next time. She tells him please don't. He continues and says that Brandy was Tila's husband. He tells her that Brandy was dying from poison and it was a horrible death, and he wanted it to end quickly and painlessly, but Tila disagreed, so he got involved. She tells him she's sorry and thinks to herself that she was prying into someone else's secret and ended up hearing it, which makes her feel like the worst. He tells her it's not fair for only his past to be shared and asks her for one of her secrets. She tells him she was abandoned at birth, which surprises him. She says she was raised by wolves and reminds him that she told him before that she's the wolf girl, and then she went to live in the ice tower. Because of that, she's not good with people and not very social. Maybe she's not even human. So she has been studying human society, but she still has a long way to go. He tells her that she doesn't seem like that at all. She just looks like a less socialized human sorceress. She is surprised and says she's not sure if that's a compliment or not. He says he will tell her the first thing about winning someone's heart, and if she's done eating, they can get going. She asks how someone wins another's heart. He tells her that a person should be attractive like him, because even if someone is a monster on the inside, if they look fine on the outside, people will treat them kindly. Then he adds that, before they get started, they should do something about her strange outfit. She is wearing new shoes and finds them much warmer and more comfortable than the old ones she had. She does not see any problem walking on slippery roads either. She wonders if it is the fur that makes them so warm. She turns around to see Karsus looking satisfied with bringing her here. He decides to check out a few more items for the road since he is the one paying. Sika tells him to hold on for a moment and says that she will pay, since she is already thankful that he came with her. But he reminds her that she said she had no money. She realizes this and becomes embarrassed, but he tells her he is just kidding and says that he chose everything to his own taste, so he will pay. He adds that she can pay next time when she picks things out for herself. She seems surprised and asks if it is not expensive. He tells her that the clothes here are costly, but the quality is excellent. He explains that the cloak is made of lasama fur, so it is both light and warm, and it will get her through any winter. When he asks the attendant for a bag, Sika says there is no need and that she will put them in her purse. He looks confused because her purse seems very small. Then, suddenly, all the clothes fit inside her purse, surprising both him and the attendant. He realizes it is a magic bag. The attendant is completely shocked. Karsus raises his hand and signals the attendant to stay quiet about it. Then he says it is time to go to the next place. When she asks where that is, he tells her they need a sword. When they arrive at the shop, he tells her that from the way she walks, it is clear she cannot handle a sword. She asks if that is true, then why do they need one? He says it is for intimidation and disguise. She looks around while he talks with the shopkeeper. After a while, she is holding a sword, and he says now she looks like quite the adventurer. She thanks him. He tells her that this is all bribery because he plans to demand a lot from her now. She thinks about it and tells him that she likes it, then realizes that this is why people bribe each other. He is glad she likes it and asks if they should get going. Outside, he glances at her and asks if they cannot travel by magic. She asks if he means transportation, and he says yes. He tells her that he went through it once, and it was not a nice experience. He was waiting outside a door, and as soon as they saw him, they teleported him without saying a word. The ground disappeared, and he was suddenly falling into a pile of snow. It was a real shock. She asks if Arcana did that, and he asks how she knew. She replies that he said they used magic right away without even speaking, and teleportation is Arcana's specialty. He asks if that means she cannot do it. She replies that she can, but she needs the coordinates to travel long distances. He tells her that they can write. She asks if he means riding a horse and says she has never done that before. He says if she never rode before, then they can ride together, and it will be good for her to learn. After a while, when she sees the horse, she realizes how big it is. He lifts her up, and she looks awkward. He tells her to sit up straight and says he will hold her. He also tells her to let him know if she feels cold. They begin riding, and she asks where they are headed. He says they will pass Arago and then Belgia. There is no snow in the south, so they will take a ship from the river. She asks if the horse is okay carrying 2 people and wonders if it is too heavy. He tells her it is fine, as the horse is big and strong. He says its name is Mihas. She asks if that is really the horse's name, and he says yes and asks if it is not cute. Meanwhile, a man wonders if someone is talking about him. While they are riding the horse, he mentions that she must be used to the heat, since the ice tower is in the middle of the desert. She tells him that is not the case, and that only the gateway is in the desert. He finds that mysterious, just like how a sorcerer's tower should be. He asks how the weather is there. She tells him it is always pretty warm all year round, which is nice, though she does like the view here. Later, a man asks her if she is headed to Belgia and wishes her a safe trip. She thanks him. Karsus calls out to her and asks if she is not worn out by the tight schedule. She tells him that she is actually enjoying meeting different people, that she does not get suspicious glances, and that everyone has been very welcoming. She does feel a little guilty for hiding her identity as a sorceress, but even so, she has received compliments, being called cute or lovely. He tells her it's good to hear and says that the next place is going to be much more complicated. After a while, they step into a new town, and she is totally surprised by the surroundings. She realizes this is the most crowded town so far. He tells her if she wanders around like that, she will become the target of pickpockets. Since it is too crowded, he says he will hold her and asks if that is okay. She says it is. She thinks that if she loses him here, she'll have to use magic to find him again. He decides they should go borrow a ship first. She notices that her whole hand fits into the palm of his hand. She realizes that even though he looks lean, he is tall and has thick bones. She also thinks he has a pretty face, and she cannot stop thinking about how similar they look. Suddenly, she feels like her hand is burning up. He suddenly calls out to her, and she jolts. He tells her they are here. The door creaks open as they step inside. Karsus yells, "Bill, here's a customer," waking Bill up from his sleep. Bill welcomes them before realizing it's Karsus. Karsus tells him he is here to borrow a ship. Bill says he does not have any ships for him. Karsus asks what he is talking about, saying he saw ships lined up outside. Bill says Karsus always wrecks his boats and tells him to go away. Karsus replies that he always pays him back, but Bill still says no. He also tells Sika she would be better off without him and not to be fooled by his looks. Karsus laughs, and Sika asks if a ship is necessary. He tells her yes. She then realizes they really do need it. She takes out her wand and points it at Bill. She tells him that she is a sorceress, so either he gives them a ship or she will turn him into a frog. If he gives them a ship, she will bless one of them. She asks if he will lend them one now. He says of course he will and hands Karsus the key, also hoping they never meet again. Later, Karsus asks why she did that with the wand. She tells him it seemed like it would take too long and she didn't like how he spoke to her partner. He asks what she means by partner. She asks if they didn't call this a partnership, saying she read it in a book. She looks at his eyes and wonders how she can say no to those eyes. He guesses that it is only temporary. She says even if they become enemies in the future, she will let him go once for a partner's sake. He tells her that she reads too much, and she realizes he caught her. She asks him to tell her more about the evil beasts. She tells him that she does not think anyone has been counting them, but he said their numbers are growing, so what does that mean? He mentions that he guesses it is more accurate to say that they have been appearing more frequently and hurting people more frequently. She asks him if they are coming from the forest. He responds that whether they are coming from there or just appearing or even being controlled by someone, they do not know anything about it yet. She guesses if the rural number has increased, maybe there's a problem with the veal. He asks about it as she points at the ocean and asks him what he calls the borderline between the water and the air. He questions if there's a word for that, and she begins to laugh. She tells him no, their world and the world of the evil beasts are similar. She tells him that the theory is that they are adjacent to each other like water and air, and the word made up to describe the borderline between them is veal. He asks her if she means that evil beasts are animals from another world. She agrees with him as he questions how they get from there to here. She tells him that they come over when the veal is weakened, and they also go over to their world. He seems taken aback as he questions from here. She responds yes, as he knows about missing people. He realizes it is possible to go there from here as well. Then he questions if they strengthen the veal, they won't come over anymore. She shakes her head and mentions there is no way to do that yet, same as how they cannot force a storm to come. He realizes that it's too bad as she responds that she agrees. He stares at her and wonders what is that feeling that he is getting from her. He calls out her name as she responds yes. He then realizes that he does not like to let people into his life nor go into theirs and tells her there is nothing and they should go. They embark on the journey and after a while it is heavily raining. She questions how there can be a storm on the lake. He responds it is because the lake is a part of Mother Nature too. He asks her if she cannot make the lake calm, why does she not just go inside? She tells him she can, but she ponders they are not alone in the lake. He tells her if she can, then she should do it as he thinks the other people will be more afraid of dying than magic. He tells her to do it again as she nods and takes out her wand, reciting the magical spells. She uses her magic and suddenly the rain is gone as well as the storm. He is totally impressed by her, but she falls onto him. She seems to be weak as she tells him that she used up too much energy. She then realizes that people are heading this way and asks if they should not run. He responds why should they run when she is the one who saved them. But he tells her they should make a stop at the town first as she is freezing. She suddenly faints. She realizes it was a huge spell and thinks that they might try to kill her and call her the devil. When she was really young, people would call her a monster. They would say that they saw the evil demon of the forest and that it was black with flashing red eyes. They said it was a horrific sight. She would look at her hands, knowing she had human hands, and wonder if she was not human. Even her mother would say that a monster lived inside her and that it should be killed. The only person who told her that she was adorable and beautiful and the most lovely girl in the world also told her that she was not a monster, that he loved her, and that they would meet again, and when they do, before the sentence could finish, she suddenly wakes up and finds herself in an unfamiliar place. She realizes she cannot remember. Karsus notices that she has woken up and asks her how she is. She thinks of him as the swordsman and calls out to him, but he corrects her, saying he is Karsus Lien. She suddenly jolts and questions what happened and where she is. He touches her face and tells her that her temperature is back to normal and that she worried him because she got so cold. He asks if she is feeling ill. She responds that she thinks it is because she used too much magic all of a sudden and asks if they are locked up. He teases her, asking why she is so dark and gloomy. He tells her that the fisherman brought them here and this is the village head's house. He also tells her she is wearing his wife's clothes and that the woman helped her change into them. Her bag would not open. She knows she locked it with magic. He asks her if she can get up. She tells him yes. He opens the room's door, and she is totally shocked. All the people look at her and notice she has woken up. She becomes scared and wonders if they are going to burn her. Everyone becomes happy that she has woken up. They thank her, saying that they caught so many fish thanks to her. She is totally confused as she looks at Karsus, who smiles. They then serve her a lot of food, saying it is in return for saving the townspeople. He asks her that the people are so happy, so how does that feel? She tells him that she did not expect it at all. She has never gotten a good reaction when using magic before. He whispers into her ear that the bigger and more spectacular the magic, the more they will like her. She tells him the saying that if you kill one man, you are a murderer, and if you kill millions, you are a conqueror. He responds that it is something like that. She realizes that it feels nice to see them so happy, but she wonders if they found out who she really was, they would run away from her. A woman approaches her and asks for her blessing. She is holding a child. Sika is totally shocked and questions what. Karsus asks her to do it, saying she has done it before. She does it. The woman bows and thanks her, and she responds that there is no need for that. Everyone begins asking for blessings. The old man also asks before saying it is probably ridiculous for him, since he does not have much time left to live. She tells him that if he would like, she can bless him. Even the people outside become curious about it. The next day, she says farewell to everyone. They thank her as they embark on their journey. She ponders that the south is so warm. She's brushing the horse and mentions that he likes being brushed. He is big but quiet and gentle. He tells her that all horses like being brushed. He tells her they are almost there in one more day of riding and they will be at their destination. He teases her that now begins the hardships. She tells him that she is looking forward to it. He responds that she won't be disappointed. Yutalu was feeling down. He is one of the top monsters in the empire, but he often ran into problems he could not solve. Like the cry of parents who have lost their child to the evil beast. There's if he should go hunting for evil beast before there's knocked on the door and he is informed that the vagabond is here, he suddenly rises. He questions if he means Karsus. The guard informs that is true, and also tells him that he has brought a sorceress. He steps down to meet them. He notices Karsus thinking he is looking cheeky as always. He looks at the girl and wonders if she is the sorceress. Karsus suddenly refers to him as darling and asks him how he is. Yutalu becomes angry, saying that if he calls him darling one more time, it will not be good. She is totally taken aback as Yutalu looks at her. He then continues by telling Karsus that he should remember what he told him before. She seems completely confused before she says that she did not know the two of them were lovers, but they both tell her that they are not. Yutalu thinks that normally Karsus would have answered with a yes, and wonders why he did not do that today. She tells Karsus that he should not make jokes that people do not like. He responds that he is just having some fun with him. Yutalu then tells them to go talk upstairs and be formally introduced. She calls out to Yutalu and asks him if he can take good care of Mihas. He seems confused before she tells him that she means the horse they rode there. He realizes that it is the name of a horse. She tells him that Mihas is big but scares easily and she thinks he is feeling uneasy in a strange place. She knows it is a strange favor to ask, but says he is a bit faint-hearted. She also tells him that being so sensitive despite his size is what makes him adorable. Yutalu then tells her that he will introduce himself and says his name is Yutalu Mihas. Karsus suddenly starts laughing like crazy. She is completely shocked and gets angry at Karsus, yelling at him so loudly that even the guard is frightened. She apologizes to Yutalu, but he tells her there is no need. He glares at Karsus and says that he knows the reason. Karsus responds that she did not mean any harm and says that Mihas is a horse he bought from him, because he is so big, as he knows. Yutalu says that he does not want him. Karsus tells him he will change his mind once he sees him. Meanwhile, she thinks that she has grown fond of the horse and it is hard to let him go. He asks her if she is a sorceress, and she tells him yes, introducing herself as Sika Wolf. He asks her to just call him Yutalu, saying it feels like she is calling for the horse. She tells him he can just call her Sika. He then shows her the way, and she sits down. He grabs something and takes a seat. He asks Karsus what he is up to, coming all this way with a sorceress. Karsus responds that there are problems in the southwest. What else could it be? Karsus says that if he would just hire him. Yutalu says that he is unbelievable. Karsus tells him that he is a mercenary and does not work without a request or payment. She looks at him and thinks that she thought it was already decided. He thinks that Karsus brought a sorceress here yet still wants to make it official. Yutalu tells him that he will hire him and says they should start tomorrow, as he also needs to inform the Marquis. He stands and says that someone will show them to their rooms. She calls out to Yutalu and asks if, before that, she could talk to him for a moment, just the two of them. Karsus seems a bit surprised but says he will wait outside. As he steps out, she turns to look at Yutalu. He asks her what it is that she wanted to talk about. She asks them where the evil beasts are appearing most frequently. She questions if it is widespread or concentrated in one area. Yutalu asks her if she has heard of the Red Forest. She tells him yes. She heard about it on her way here. He tells her that they appear mostly nearby the start of the Red Forest. She responds, so it is not widespread. She asks him if he has seen human-like evil beasts too. He suddenly gets goosebumps. He knows that evil beasts are animals or beasts, thus the name. Of course, it is hard to categorize them as animals, but he has never seen a human-shaped evil beast. He has never even imagined such a thing. He tells her he has not seen anything like that. He questions if there are evil beasts that have intelligence like humans. He asks her if they could be controlling the other evil beasts. She tells him that she only asked because she was curious. She has not seen something like that either. He tells her that it's a scary question, and she asks him if it is. As he flinches, he suddenly realizes that the thought of it is. She tells them that she is done questioning and asks him if he has any questions for her. Karsus stands outside the door and wonders what those two are talking about. Yutalu tells her that since she said she is a sorceress, he wants to know what she can do for him. She tells him that she can tell if the evil beasts are being controlled or not. She states that Karsus says he is worried it is the enchanter of the Red Forest's doing. She tells him that Karsus is quick at sniffing things out. While Karsus stands outside, still curious about what they're talking about, she then asks how the two of them know each other. Yutalu responds that when they were young, they fought together in a battle and met again a couple of times more afterwards. He is a mercenary, and their jobs mostly involve getting rid of evil beasts. He states that there is only one master who is also a mercenary, and that is him. She mentions that she guesses both of them are not on good terms. Before realizing what she just said, she apologizes to him and tells him she should not have said such a thing. She wonders what to do with her lack of social skills. He tells her that he is not so big-hearted that he can like someone who asks not to be liked. She tells them that Karsus also asks not to be hated. Yutalu mentions that is what annoys him. Also the fact that Karsus is aware that it annoys him. She realizes that Yutalu is very aware of Karsus. She thinks she thought he would be rough like a bear because of his build, but realizes they should not judge a person by their looks. She asks if he does not have any more questions, and he responds no, so they decide to go. As they step out, Karsus asks them if they had a nice chat. She responds yes and thanks Yutalu. He responds there is no problem. Karsus asks Yutalu since when did he become so polite. He says he always looks down on women. Yutalu responds that he has realized women work just as hard as men. Yutalu then thinks to himself that he wishes to strangle Karsus. Karsus then says that come to think of it, Yutalu once worked with the Silver Knight. Yutalu becomes irritated and tells Karsus that someday that tongue of his will get him killed. Karsus thanks him for worrying about him and states that they will head to their rooms. He holds Sika's hand, while Yutalu notices it. While they're stepping down the stairs, Karsus asks her what they talked about. She asks him if she tells him, then there's no point in having a private conversation, is there? He pouts, asking aren't they partners? She tells him that she just asked some questions about the evil beasts. He tells her that he can tell her more about them than Yutalu. He states that he is a mercenary. He is the expert on evil beasts. She wonders what would happen if he found out the truth. She wonders if he would feel betrayed or if he would kill her. She is scared that he would be quick to catch on. She realizes that she misses the gentle voice telling her she is not a monster that he calls out to her as she ponders. Yes, the voice that is so similar to his. He then tells her that this is her room. She finds the windows pretty big for a castle in the west and guesses it is because they are down south. He tells her he is in the next room, so she should call him if she needs anything. He turns as he tells her that they need to start searching the forest tomorrow, so she should get some rest. She suddenly grabs his hair, making him scream her name in pain. She says sorry to him, telling him it is just shaped for grabbing and he has really silky hair. He asks her why did she grab it. She questions if he looks like his father. He responds that he does not know. He has never met him. She is taken aback as she apologizes. He asks if she is wondering whether her sweetheart might be his father. She tells him maybe that is the case. She realizes that she thinks he is upset. She takes out her purse and pulls out a candy. She seems hesitant as she extends her hand, offering him the candy. She asks him if they are still partners. He says yes, until they part. She becomes happy as he thanks her for the treat. He realizes that he hates being tangled up in other people's troubles. He thinks about the face she made when she thought he was her first love. He wonders why he does not want her to show that face to anyone else. He thinks that he knows this kind of attachment is strange. He looks at the candy as it sparkles. He wonders if this was made in the Sorceress Tower. He is aware that they will still part soon enough. He eats it, thinking there's no harm in being close for the time being. The next day they're looking for the beasts. Yutalu notices that no one is paying attention to Sorceress, finding it relieving that no one is minding her being a sorceress. By his point of view, she does look like a harmless pretty girl. He remembers how she tells him she's 25, by the way. Realizing she does not like being treated like a child, Karsus steps in, asking everyone if they won't just give his partner some space. She calls out to him as he asks her about her cloak. She tells him it's in her purse. He tells her that is good and ponders he wants a bag like that. Karsus tells them to come this way. Yudelu asks him if he's coming with them. He responds yes, he is. Karsus then asks him if it is okay for a master to leave the house. Yudelu responds that Matthew is there, so he does not need to worry. He tells Sika to stay close to Lepi. She tells him that she'll trust him then. They both introduce themselves, while Karsus tells her he will still be close by, so she should not worry. Yudelu gives a stern expression, stating that he is supposed to be at the back. Karsus tries to insist, but Yudelu seems to be very stubborn. Karsus realizes that he cannot refuse a request from the client, so he will be at the very back. He asks her not to stray from the center, as she tells him all right. She is aware that she learned from the wolf that the first and last part of the line are the most important. She asks everyone if it is all right that she would like to take her wand out. Yudelu tells her all right, she can do that, and asks her if there is anything he needs to know beforehand, like attack magic. She tells him she does not know any attack spells, but she can bind legs or blind someone. Karsus seems a little stunned by the fact that she does not know any attack spells. As she takes out her wand, all the guards are totally surprised. Yudelu ponders that she really is a sorceress. They cannot believe that a large wand came out of there. Karsus smirks as he ponders she was expecting that kind of expression. They decide to move out. As they step inside, she ponders that she can see why they call it the Red Forest. The soil is dark red, and she would like to take a sample to examine it, but she knows there are other things she has to do today. Karsus asks Yudelu which way they are headed. Yudelu responds that they are headed to the first crime scene. She thinks about it and realizes it must be the first place at which the attacks by the evil beasts took place. She holds onto her wand tightly. They all step towards the scene. Yudelu raises his hand and asks her if she can find any traces of them. She tells him that she will try. She uses her magic and recites something. She has lots of questions in her mind, wondering if the veil is nearby or if it's ripped or cracked. She wonders if it was messed with. She tells them there is no trace of them at all. It must have faded with time. Karsus decides to go to the most recent scene then. He asks Yudelu when was the last attack. He responds it was 2 days ago. They realize they should go there. Then, she apologizes to them, stating that she should have expected this. Karsus tells her this is basic knowledge when chasing something. They are the ones who missed this. She's aware there are not any traces left known at all. And something about this bothers her. She wonders what could it be. Lepi asks her if she can use that spell to find out who did this. She tells him that if it was a forced job by humans, then yes, she can. He says it must be the savages. She is shocked, reportedly using evil beasts to murder people. He says they should kill them all, even if it means burning down the forest, and wonders what the Marquis is even thinking. Lepi flinches as Yudelu calls out to him. He admits he got a bit worked up and apologizes. She tells him it is okay. One of the guards says that they do not show it, but the others seem to be thinking the same way. She wonders if she tells them this was not the work of savages, would they even believe her? She knows she is surrounded by people who are not on her side. But that is not true. She has Karsus. She glances at him. Maybe it goes beyond reason, but she trusts him. She uses her magic spell and senses something. The veil. A crack, fading, an artificial tear. Suddenly, she realizes this is it, and a monster appears. Karsus grabs her and pulls her to the side while signaling Yudelu to attack. Everyone draws their swords and surrounds the monster, shouting to block it so it cannot escape. Karsus tells her to wait there. Yudelu notices something and yells at everyone to hold their breath. Karsus also shouts for them not to make contact with it and to stay back. She clutches her bag, stunned. She saw so many illustrations of evil beasts at the ice tower, so she thought she knew enough about them. But now that one is in front of her, real and alive, she realizes how little she actually knows. Karsus charges forward and strikes the monster. She takes out her wand and begins to recite a spell. The monster runs toward her, and Yudelu attacks. She keeps chanting while Karsus strikes again and again. Eventually, the monster loses its breath and collapses. Karsus thinks it must be dead. She runs to him, calling his name. She runs to him while he takes a step back, asking her to wait. He tells her that he is still holding his sword and has blood all over him, and that is not good. He asks Yudelu if he is okay, and Yudelu responds that he is alive, though he has tears dripping down his face. She asks Yudelu to show her his wound, and when he takes his hand off his eyes, she tells him he can keep them closed. She realizes the gas must have been poisonous and heals him with magic. She asks how he feels, and though he is taken aback, he tells her he is feeling better. He asks her to check on his soldiers as well and calls for the injured to be rounded up, asking if anyone is unharmed. She ponders that it is a relief her magic works against the evil beast's poison. Her hands are trembling as Karsus approaches and asks if she is all right. She tells him yes, she is. She treats them all and declares the emergency measures and poison cleansing complete. She gives them something and tells them to use a spoonful around the wounds with internal injuries. She calls out to Yutalu and tells him that while his pain is gone, the wound is not completely healed, and they should get moving. Karsus suddenly steps toward her and takes her hand. She finds it strange that she feels fine, yet her body is shaking like a leaf. He tells her it's because she's not really fine and says they should try to get back to the castle. She leans onto him, and after a brief pause, he holds her and picks her up. She blushes and calls his name, holding onto him tightly as he says they should get out of there as fast as they can. As they are leaving, she thanks him. He responds that there is no need and that it is part of his job. She asks if everyone will be okay, and he tells her she did a great job with the emergency measures and he's sure they'll be fine. Then he asks what the medicine she gave them was. She explains that it helps with healing, reduces pain, and prevents infection. She used her magic to refine and extract the ingredients, so it is more effective than herbs. He tells her she used magic on the evil beast and asks if she's feeling all right. She explains that magical power is concentrated near the heart, called the circle of heart or just the circle. There is a limit to it, but she didn't use up too much, so she's okay. She adds that she just feels a bit foolish. He's surprised and thinks that freezing up and shaking like this is completely normal, and it's remarkable she didn't run away screaming. He tells her that fresh soldiers who see an evil beast for the first time often freeze, scream, or flee. She says she thought she was one of them, but he assures her she wasn't. She followed his lead and kept quiet, used her magic superbly, and if she hadn't blown the poison away, the damage would have been much worse. He tells her she did great for her first time and even after the beast died. She feels relieved that she wasn't a burden. Suddenly, she flinches as he asks if she sensed something in the forest. She nods, and he frowns, annoyed that unwanted suspicions always seem to be right. With the soldiers tending to the wounded, he decides to take another look around. He suspects the evil beast came through the veil and thinks it dropped out of the sky. He then notices cracked arrows and inspects one of the arrowheads, realizing that things have just gotten more complicated. They reach back, and Sika, relieved they weren't attacked again, thinks she was worried the entire time but is glad they made it out of the forest safely. Yutalu asks her to sit and offers her a glass of water, but she replies that she's fine. Karsus, however, says he would like one. Yutalu then asks Sika if she has found out anything. She tells him that it was an intentional tearing of the veil, definitely done by humans. At that, Karsus throws an arrowhead toward Yutalu, saying he found it near the lake. Yutalu becomes furious and curses. He had thought things had been peaceful lately and that they were on good terms. The western border, near the savage tribe's land, had seen various diplomatic efforts over the years, including intermarriage between nations. Yutalu Mihas himself is half empire and half savage tribe, which is why his name is so peculiar. He believed those efforts were working, until this happened. Karsus asks what he is going to do. Yutalu responds that he will deal with it. All tribes make their arrowheads differently, and this one is from the Sodas tribe. He decides he needs to meet with their leader. Sika volunteers to go with him. Karsus calls out her name in protest, but she insists. They don't know what the enchanter might try next, and she cannot let Yutalu go alone. Karsus watches her and realizes she isn't bluffing or making empty offers. Yutalu accepts her help with gratitude. Still, Karsus questions if Yutalu really intends to take someone who shudders at the sight of evil beasts into savage tribe territory. Sika tells Karsus he doesn't need to come with them. There's no reason for him to put himself at risk, but Yutalu interrupts, saying firmly that Karsus is coming. Sika isn't pleased, but Yutalu reminds her that he hired him. Karsus agrees that they will all go together. He then asks if he can wash up first before they continue the discussion. Yutalu nods and says he will send someone before dinner. As they walk toward their rooms, Karsus offers to accompany Sika, and she accepts. While walking through the hallway, she notices him suddenly losing his balance and catches him. She tells him he must not be feeling well and asks if he inhaled the poisonous air or got hurt. He says he is fine. She doesn't look convinced and asks again. He insists he is all right. She then asks why he is acting like this. He admits he is upset. She was the one who said they are partners, yet she tried to leave him behind. She tries to explain that it was not what she meant, but it is just that he does not seem like the type who likes getting involved. He says he doesn't mind being the one to push her away, but he doesn't like it when she pushes him. She calls him selfish. He agrees and says he knows he isn't a good person, but this has nothing to do with being good or bad. She watches him, puzzled, thinking how strange he is. She regrets ever thinking he was like her swordsman, even though their faces are so similar. He tells her they will consult each other from now on like real partners. She agrees, but only if he promises to consult her too. Karsus says he will. As he says it, he finds the moment oddly awkward. He wonders if he is starting to want more. His thirst for affection is beginning to twist toward Sika's. He knows that affection was never meant for him. It was meant for the swordsman who only looks like him. Even though he knows they will part ways soon, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. Sika is not like the others. He may not see her again, but for now, he will stop trying to keep his distance. He decides to follow what his heart wants, just like he is doing now. She is asked if it really was a human, and she answers that she felt traces of the veil being tampered with. When asked whether it was a straggler or the enchanter, she says she isn't sure yet, and questions whether a straggler would even make it out. Was it confusion, or fear of sorcerers? Stragglers are sorcerers who abandoned the teachings of the Ice Tower not too long ago. Those who tried to revolt were all discovered and killed, and since then, the Empire's hatred for them has only grown. He asks if the goal is to ruin all sorcerers, but she says she doesn't believe it will go that far. Still, if it really was the enchanter's doing, that would be troublesome. He rises, saying that he'll report to the tower, and asks her if she figured out how the veil was weakened. She admits she couldn't investigate today and will need to return. A knock interrupts them, and she assumes it's a call to dinner, telling him she'll talk to him later. She opens the door to find a guard who nervously asks for some of the medicine she gave earlier. She asks if someone is hurt, and he insists it's just for his mother. When she asks if it's for an external wound, he becomes desperate, repeating that he just needs the medicine. She senses something is off, and though she isn't used to binding magic, she prepares to try it. As she starts to close the door, he suddenly forces it open and lunges at her with a knife, yelling for the medicine. Karsus intervenes immediately, grabbing the guard and slamming him to the floor, demanding to know what he did. She replies that he just asked her for the medicine. Noticing Karsus is wet, she gently offers to dry his hair. He protests that this isn't the time to bond, but she says it's not like that. She grabs a handful of his hair and dries it using magic, telling him that drying her own hair was such a nuisance that she invented that spell herself. He scoffs that it's such an easy spell, and she notices his aura core. He says he'll take the guard to Yutalu, who will deal with him. She asks why he thinks the guard did it. Karsus responds that it's obvious. He probably wanted the medicine. A universal remedy crafted by a sorceress is worth more than gold in equal weight, even if she only enhanced existing medicine. He grabs the unconscious man and tells her to lock the door and rest. She realizes that everyone in the castle seemed so nice that she had let her guard down. She thought it would be fine to give out the medicine, forgetting how rare healing magic is. The Ice Tower decided it was better for such magic to remain unknown in the outer world, fearing misuse. Still, rather than letting rumors spread, maybe it's better to be transparent, like the fact that healing magic only works immediately on external wounds, not illnesses. If magic were to be better understood, maybe aura masters and sorcerers could finally be treated as equals. Aura users are popular in the Empire, so why shouldn't sorcerers be too? She wonders if that's just a naive thought. Another knock comes at the door, and she asks who it is. It's Karsus. He brings her food, and she mentions she thought everyone was eating downstairs. She wonders if he's being considerate because of the earlier incident. Noticing he's wearing a shirt, she jokes, and he dryly says that of course he wouldn't go around topless in the middle of winter. He adds that he understands her disappointment, but she should try to contain herself. She insists she didn't mean it like that, and tells him that she saw his aura core and found it beautiful. He pauses, then asks if she wants it. She quickly replies that she's not that kind of person. He notices that she didn't like it and says he was only making a joke. She asks him if she looked like someone who wanted the aura core for herself. Clearly shaken, she lowers her hand as he repeats that it was just a joke and that he never thought she'd actually want to take his aura core. She breathes a little easier and says, "Thank goodness it was just a joke." He watches her and asks if she wants to see it. She's confused, so he clarifies that he means his aura core, the one she only got a glimpse of. He explains that once someone reaches maximum proficiency with the sword, they can use aura, and the aura concentrates into a solid form that protrudes from the body, known as the aura core. It usually appears on the back of the hand, forehead, pit of the stomach, back of the neck, or similar places. She thinks about this and realizes she's curious. What sorcerer wouldn't be? She wonders if it's really okay to see it. Wouldn't it be rude? But he was the one who offered. Clenching her fists, she tells him she wants to see it. He smirks and starts unbuttoning his shirt. She freezes, a bit stunned, and he teases her, saying she looks like she's about to drool. She flusters, denying it, though she knows she really wasn't, and, yet, she's blushing. He laughs and asks why she's the one blushing when he's the one taking his clothes off. She looks at his aura core, surprised to see it's a brilliant gold. When she reaches out to touch it, he flinches. She realizes that even though aura cores appear solid, they're actually very sensitive. She apologizes, but he tells her it's fine. He asks if she likes it and mentions that since it's on his back, he can't even see it himself. She tells him it's really pretty and admits that she saw his tattoo for the first time and likes it. When she asks if it means something, he tells her it's a pattern from the southern savage tribe, so it probably does. Tattoos were a thing of the savages. People in the empire thought tattoos were barbaric, and they didn't grow their hair out like Karsus did. If there were an average of all people, Karsus would be far beyond it. He mentions that empire folk don't get tattoos. She walks over and picks up her wand, saying she thought she should show him something of hers too. She hands him her wand and tells him he can take his time examining it. He smiles. After a moment, he asks her if she didn't say a wand isn't necessary to perform magic. She says no, and explains that all sorcerers have teapots. Each teapot is filled with water, which is magic, and they each follow a certain way of drawing with it to cast a spell. He finds it a cute metaphor. She says she doesn't just have a teapot, she has a huge basin. He asks if that means she has more magical power than most. She nods, saying that's why she uses a wand instead of just the spout. It helps control the flow. A spell must be handled carefully. She gives an example. If she's just trying to move a soup bowl, she might accidentally move the whole table instead. He nods, now understanding what she means. She adds that this is why she has to be especially careful when casting unfamiliar spells. Then she asks what happened to the soldier from before. Karsus says he hurt his head, but other than that, he's fine. No memory loss, no drooling, but Yutalu will decide whether he's sent to prison or banished from the castle. She's relieved that he's okay, but Karsus tells her not to be. Who knows if he'll do it again. She agrees it's possible but still thinks it's unfair for him to receive more punishment than he deserves. Karsus says he disagrees. She notes that everyone sees things differently. He says he just doesn't like those kinds of rules. Loyalty, motherhood, honor, friendship, even written laws. He feels like all these intangible concepts are suffocating him. She wonders if he's just being a moody teenager but figures he must be serious in his own way. She quietly asks him if he doesn't want to be human. It catches him off guard. She tells him that if he wants to be seen and treated as human, the easiest way is to follow those principles. But if he rejects them, does that mean he doesn't want to be human? She says that's impossible. He knows she's right. Then she adds that if he truly didn't care, he wouldn't have taken on this job. He would have gone off to live alone on a mountain somewhere. He knows that's painfully true. She finishes by saying she thinks he's just trying too hard. Maybe he's even trapped by his own principles. The ones that tell him to break the rules. He seems to be silenced as she becomes nervous and wonders if she was being too harsh. She thinks maybe this is a conversation between close friends, but this guy has no intention of becoming friends. They have to keep seeing each other, so she wonders if this is how it ends. But then she thinks about how he said they were partners until they part, wondering if maybe she was barking up the wrong tree. She wonders if she should apologize, thinking about what she should say. She clenches her fist and tells herself that she is going to apologize now. Before she can speak up, he tells her that she is right. He guesses that he is a bit worn out. She rises from her chair and steps towards him. She gives him a hug as he's totally shocked. She tells him that they say a hug gives comfort and eases people's minds. He realizes that she seems to avoid human contact, but then suddenly crosses the line like this. He thinks it must be because she learned her social skills through books, but she's not afraid of relationships. He knows that he is the one who is afraid. He fears relationships yet wants to be loved. He calls himself a coward. She also tells him that he can be friends with her. He asks her why she is so sure all of a sudden, saying that being really close with someone is only possible if they see each other again, right? He responds that he guesses. She tells him that when this trip is over, she will go back to the tower and never come back out. He asks her if she's never coming back out. She tells him yes, never until she dies. He realizes that he will never see her again. He thinks that this is what he wanted, but then why does he feel this tightness in his chest? He suddenly grabs onto her arm and asks her why never. She tells him because she studies. reads, and they all live that way. But he thinks that the way she just said it now, it felt like an order for confinement, like she is punishing herself by staying in the tower forever. He thinks that she will probably not answer his questions. He mentions that he guesses they can get close without consequences. She seems to be taken aback as he states there is no need for formalities either. He signals her to drop formalities too since they're partners. He suddenly grabs onto her, making her very nervous. She realizes that she has never been held by someone. He suddenly lifts her up and stares at her. He asks her if this feels nice as he puts her on his lap. He tells her that she said hugging makes her feel nice. She tells him not nice, but calmer and comforted, is what she heard. He squeezes her and asks her if this is calming and comforting her. Her face is fully red as she tells him that she does not know and says maybe it is a wrong theory. He tells her that he feels nice. She asks him if it does. She wonders why does he have to be so good-looking and look so similar to her first love. After a while, he tells her that they will need the restaurant to go with Yutalu tomorrow, so she should get some rest today. He tells her that he will take the food tray. After she closes the door, she wonders what that was. It feels like a storm just passed. She knows it is all because he looks so much like her swordsman. She decides to get some rest. Meanwhile, Yutalu steps into the room where Karsus is sitting. He calls out to him, and Karsus, noticing his arrival, asks if he'd like a glass. Yutalu mentions that he thought this place was locked as he takes a seat. Karsus responds that the lock was easy to pick and suggests that if he wants to guard the place properly, he should probably change them. Yutalu tells him that he doesn't have drunks desperate enough to pick locks for a drink. Karsus passes him a glass, and Yutalu takes a sip. He winces as the liquor stings his throat. It's not exactly good. Karsus then asks him what he would do if he really wanted to live freely. All of them have gotten ready. Yutalu asks them to wait a moment as he goes somewhere saying he needs to leave some instructions for Matthew. Karsus notices that she is wearing pigtails today. He checks out her hair and finds it cute. She asks if she is cuter than him, and he responds that he's the cutest person in the land. She realizes that is so like him. Yutalu comes back and nods to Matthew before he leaves. He thanks her for coming with him, and she tells him not at all, saying that he's the friend of her partner. Karsus asks if that's the reason she came, and she replies that it's one of the reasons. Karsus tells Yutalu that he should be thanking him instead. Yutalu knows that having these two with him makes him feel less worried. She tells both of them that if they are ever in trouble, they should call for her. She'll fly to the rescue. Karsus laughs, but she insists she's serious. Yutalu tells her that if they are in trouble, the first thing she should do is keep herself safe. He says he heard there's a protection spell, and she confirms there is. He's relieved. Karsus adds that they have two monsters with them, and the savage tribes are well aware of how dangerous masters can be, so he doubts they'll face too much of a struggle, though it doesn't hurt to be cautious. He recalls how last night, Yutalu told him he didn't expect him to ask such a question, since he always leaves as he pleases. Karsus replied that he doesn't think he lives as he wants to. Yutalu got angry, saying that both he and Lunatil seem fine on the outside but are rotting on the inside. Karsus corrected him, saying she's no longer Lunatil, but Encartina, and that she looks happy now, thanks to Veramud. Though it's good to see her happy and married, it aches to see them have what he never could. Yutalu told him that if he wanted to live freely, he should just do it. Everyone lives the way they want. Karsus questioned if that's really true, asking whether people aren't all pressured by society. Yutalu replied that it's their choice to be pressured. Karsus told him he was harsh, but Yutalu said he was just being honest. Maybe as a child you don't have a choice, but adults make their own. Karsus mentioned how he was told today that he's trying too hard. Yutalu said only the sorceress would tell him something like that, and that he's been living as he pleased until now, so he should just keep doing that. Karsus then asked about not being able to keep a relationship because of childhood wounds. Yutalu responded that he didn't know what Karsus went through as a child, but if he's trying so hard already, why not let it go? Karsus was shocked. He couldn't believe how directly Yutalu hit the mark. He called him a berserker, thick as a bear, who has no clue about his sensitive side. Yutalu replied that Karsus says a lot of nonsense when he's drunk. Karsus asked if they were meeting with the savage tribes in the forest tomorrow. Yutalu answered yes. First the Sodas tribe, and if they had to subdue them, then Yutalu should stay out of it. Karsus knows that's why he's been hired, since it's his duty to guard the border. He stood up and thanked Yutalu for talking to him anyway. Back in the present, Sika thinks that today they're not following the same path as yesterday. She considers asking for a break but doesn't want to slow them down. Her legs are aching, and she realizes she never knew how important clear paths were. Karsus asks if she's okay, and she replies that she's holding on. Yutalu tells her to let him know if she's tired, and she nods. She thinks the trip must have made her stronger since she's still managing to walk. Suddenly, a loud scream echoes, grabbing their attention and leaving all of them stunned. Karsus notices that they are already here. Yutalu responds that they must have known they were coming. They both ask Sika to come between them. She realizes that she can hear people all around them and wonders if they are going to be okay. A man jumps from a tree and rises to his feet. He begins speaking with Yutalu in a different language. Sika thinks that she does not understand what they are talking about, but of course they would not speak the language of the Empire. The man seems very angry. Karsus steps into the conversation. The man notices Sika's wand before turning around. Sika asks Karsus what is going on. He tells her that he said they came to see the chief. Then the man said dirty bloods are not welcome, so Karsus told him the shamaness has something to say. Sika is shocked and responds that she is a sorcerer. Karsus tells her that to them it is all the same, and the man agreed to talk with his chief. He says if the chief accepts, they will get to meet him and that it is better than going back without even trying. Sika agrees but comments that both of them are very fluent in the language of the savage tribes. Karsus mentions that Yutalu's mother is from the Sodas tribe and that he has worked with tribes in the south a few times. She glances at Yutalu and thinks that if his mother is from the Sodas tribe, then if the savage tribes are behind this, he will be fighting against his own mother's people. The man returns and waves at them to follow him, again calling Yutalu dirty blood. Sika pouts, realizing that they are disrespecting him just because he is racially mixed. Yutalu says that he does not care and that Dakuin will see them, so they should go. Karsus pouts and says that he cares and that he is sensitive. Yutalu ignores him. After a while, the chief steps outside and greets them. Yutalu greets him as chief, but the chief asks if it would kill him to call him grandfather. Sika is stunned before the chief points at her and asks if she is the Sessarak. She introduces herself and tells him it is nice to meet him. He says his name is Brak. He then looks at Karsus and mentions that he did not expect to see him again. Karsus responds that it has been a long time. Brak asks Sika if she has something to say. She asks if he has noticed an increase in the number of evil beasts recently. She then asks if he is aware that humans are involved in the matter. He says he does not know and asks who would do such a thing. He mentions that they have not had a Sessarak in a long time, but he has heard that Lacha has a new one. Yutalu asks if he means Lacha, and Karsus explains to Sika that it is another tribe in the Red Forest. Yutalu thanks Brak for his time and says they will be heading there. Brak asks why he is leaving already and why they will not stay to dine with them. Yutalu replies that they should find the Lacha immediately, so they will take their leave. Sika feels relieved that it was not Yutalu's grandfather behind everything. Brak tells Yutalu to take care of himself, and Yutalu responds, yes, grandfather. To the Empire, Lacha or Sodas are all the same, savages without distinction between tribes. Even if Lacha is responsible, Sodas will still pay the price. Nevertheless, Yutalu glances at Sika and reflects that he had not considered her physical endurance. Karsus asks her if she is okay, and she replies that she is. Yutalu thinks that he must have been feeling pressured. Sika eats a sandwich and asks about the Sessarak, wondering if they had visions. Yutalu responds with a question, asking if she means a vision where they release evil beasts. Karsus says he does not know about that. Sika asks if Sessaraks can truly have visions, and Karsus replies that he heard they did in the past, though there hasn't been an oracle in a while. She seems lost in thought before telling Karsus that Sessaraks and sorcerers are completely different. Karsus says that the tribes use the same word for both because they do not have a separate term. Sika believes the two roles are entirely different, though she feels as if she's been receiving visions herself. Suddenly, arrows rain down on them. Sika spots one and grabs her wand, reciting a protection spell that shields all of them. Karsus shouts out, demanding to know who is there. Yutalu tells her the attackers are gone now and that she can lower the shield. She asks what they should do next, and Yutalu says he wants to continue with the plan, asking if she is okay with that. She agrees and says they should move on. Karsus reminds her that their lives could be at risk and asks if she is truly okay with this, to which she again answers yes. Yutalu decides to take the lead, with Sika in the middle and Karsus at the rear. Karsus smirks at the man who threw the arrows, causing the man to recoil, wondering if he had just been seen. He finds it impossible, thinking they were too far away. The other men ask about their condition, and one of them, perched in a tree, says they are not heeding the warning. Frustrated, they all agree that the shaman was right, and they must kill the witch no matter what. The Witch of Darkness is heading toward their village, and they decide to use the chica fruits. Night falls, and Sika asks if they keep going deeper into the forest, will they be able to make it out by tonight? Yutalu says they will have to camp outside and apologizes. He reassures her that the southern region does not get too cold, but the silence still feels strange. He notes that the village of the Lacha tribe lies within a canyon and there is only one road that leads there. Since the path is open and no one is attacking, Yutalu feels uneasy. Sika asks how much longer it will take to reach the village, and he says about an hour more. She thinks it is farther than expected. Yutalu then admits he is afraid they might be walking into a trap, and just then, the ground gives way beneath him and he falls into a hole, leaving both Karsus and Sika in shock as they call out his name. Yutalu groans from inside the hole. Karsus extends a hand to him and asks if he is alright. Yutalu responds that he is fine and pulls himself up, stating that he fell into a very primitive trap and wonders how he didn't notice it. Sika realizes there was an illusion spell cast over it and scolds herself for not noticing. She suddenly sneezes, and Yutalu thinks the sneeze is far too cute for the current situation. Karsus notes that it's strange the trap wasn't spiked or rigged with a drop mechanism. Then he smells something and asks if they sprayed perfume. They both quickly realize it's poison powder. Sika keeps sneezing while Karsus tells her to hold her breath. Blood begins to drip from her nose and she gets dizzy. She and Yutalu both collapse to the ground while Karsus remains standing. Arrows fly toward them as Karsus curses and dodges. He cannot believe they fell for such a simple trap. Even his hands are trembling. He calls out to Yutalu, who rises and throws Sika over his shoulders. Someone yells that the sorceress is escaping and orders them to catch her. Karsus realizes they are targeting Sika and draws his sword, declaring that if that's the case, he won't let them have her. He slams the ground with force, raising a huge cloud of dust. The pursuers lose sight of them in the haze. They find Karsus on the ground and decide at least they caught one. As long as they get the witch's name, the Sesserac can place a curse. They take Karsus somewhere and tie him up, splashing water in his face. They inform him that his mashur has been sealed. Karsus suspects they mean the Oricor. He smirks, guessing that the person in front of him must be the Sesserac. One of the men slaps him, telling him not to speak to her. He replies that he'll be careful. The Sesserac demands the name of the woman he was with. Karsus asks what they plan to do with her name. She tells him the witch must be destroyed. She says he is being received, but he replies that he does not know. The Sesserac orders one of her men to hurt him if he refuses to answer. Karsus questions their actions and refuses again, so they attack him. Later, bruised and bleeding, he mutters to himself, wondering what exactly he should think of. The Sesserac asks why he would take on such pain for her. She calls Sika a wicked creature and an evil beast. Karsus calls her the insane witch who delights in watching people suffer. The Sesserac tells him to sleep on it and that tomorrow will be worse. She wishes him good night and leaves. Karsus, barely conscious, thinks that if they're still looking for her name, then Sika and Yutalu must have escaped safely. He wonders what to do now that he cannot use his sword with his arms bound. He questions how they sealed his aura core. Then he remembers Sika once told him to call for her and she would fly to his rescue. He silently calls her name. Nothing happens. He scoffs at himself, wondering what he even expected. But then, right at that moment, she appears. She suddenly appears and looks at his condition, wondering what they have done to his arms as she begins casting a spell while he tells her his fingers are completely numb and she asks him not to move as she continues chanting and frees him before using teleportation to vanish with him. Meanwhile, the Sesserac mutters that Karsus is a fine warrior with good looks and a strong body, and though it feels like a waste, she will kill him if that is what it takes to get the witch's name. Suddenly someone appears and asks if she is the obstructor, which shocks her as she looks around and demands to know who he is, but he keeps stepping closer, asking if she truly doesn't recognize him. She begins to remember as he grabs her and says dislocating all the joints in a human body won't kill them and suggests they should have some fun so her people won't interfere with his work. Karsus flinches awake from a nightmare where a voice tells him it wasn't meant for him and that he ruined her life. He sees Sika beside him, who asks if he would like a glass of water. He looks at her in disbelief and asks what happened, and she tells him she teleported them and treated his hands while he was unconscious, asking how they feel. He says they feel fine like it was all a dream, but she can tell from the way he woke up that something still weighs on him. He touches his hair and notices the damage, and she offers to trim it, saying it hasn't changed how he looks, but he says he was saving it for when his wish came true, though he admits he doesn't have a specific wish. He asks if her sweetheart had long or short hair, and she answers short, so he says they must look even more alike. He tells her he didn't expect her to really come when he called her name, but she stands and says if he calls, she will always come, even from the other side of the world, and asks him to never hesitate to call because she doesn't want to see anything like that again. He says she's like a guardian angel in a hero's tale, someone he can rely on, and she tells him it's not just him, Yutalu can call her too. Suddenly, his aura returns and she grabs him, saying the spell is broken. When he asks why, she explains that the caster is dead. He says it was the Sessarak of the Lacha tribe, and she confirms that means she is dead. He finds it strange since she seemed fine not long ago, but deep down he knows she wasn't human. He tells Sika that the woman kept calling her an evil beast or a monster, and Sika suddenly goes quiet, a flicker of fear appearing in her eyes. She becomes worried, wondering what she should do and if she has been found out. She quickly hides her reaction and tells Karsus it's nonsense, trying to act calm as she wonders how the Sessarak even knew when she had everything sealed. She repeats that calling her an evil creature is ridiculous, and Karsus responds that of course he knows. He wonders what she thinks he is going to do with that sword of his, but she tells him to get some sleep. He replies that he cannot sleep, and as she reaches into her purse, he suddenly lashes out, thinking she is going to attack him. The item falls to the ground, and she explains that it's just a doll she used to sleep with. He apologizes and feels like trash for reacting that way, but she tells him it's filled with herbs and the scent helps her sleep when she hugs it. She asks if he really thought she was going to hurt him, and when he doesn't respond, she simply tells him it's okay and gives him a soft smile, handing the doll to him and promising that it works. As she turns to leave, he calls out to her and apologizes again for the way he reacted, saying he doesn't know what's going on with her but she can tell him when she's ready. He tells her the doll is adorable and thanks her, wishing her good night, though in his thoughts he admits the doll is really ugly. He recalls the nightmare he had and wonders if this too is a dream and if she would come flying even in a dream. When he wakes, he's surprised to find that he slept so soundly and then shocked to realize it's already midday. Looking at the doll, he thinks he doesn't like anything about it, but the herbs smell nice and he can faintly smell her scent on it, which he finds oddly comforting. Feeling hungry, he goes downstairs and sees Sika speaking with others. She spots him and asks how he is and if he's feeling all right, to which he replies that he's fine. His stomach growls and she laughs, asking if he's hungry, and he says very. He asks her if he really slept for 3 days, and she confirms it, telling him to eat only soft food like soup, or soup. He jokes that it sounds like there's only soup, and she confirms it again. She notices Yutalu and calls him over, and when he arrives, he asks how Karsus is doing. Karsus replies that he's feeling good, and Yutalu tells him that he heard everything from Sika. Karsus then asks if the Sessarak of the Lacha tribe is truly dead, and Yutalu tells him that the entire tribe is gone. Karsus questions if it is true that the entire tribe has been killed. Yutalu does seem that everyone who was at the village, all of them died, and the ones who made it out say that the evil beast attacked the village. Karsus questions, but still the whole village? It does not seem that simple. The Sessarak's body was hanging from a tree, as if to set an example, and they could not find the body of the Lacha's head warrior. Karsus mentioned that the head warrior's duty is to guard the shaman. He asks if he was eaten or maybe he ran and hid. Yutalu tells him that there's talk in the village, that he's the one who did this. Karsus is totally taken aback that his hands were made useless, so how can he be the one to do that? Yutalu mentions that his body was nowhere to be found, and looking at the Sessarak's body, it was not only the evil beast's doing. So they think an empire man with aura got his revenge. Karsus is aware if they had found just dead people, they could definitely think that. Yutalu also ponders he would have if he could have. Karsus questions then what is the meaning of this? There is a person controlling the evil beast or something like that. He questions if someone can control an evil beast with magic. Sika responds that it is very complicated but not possible. She tells him but then they will have to capture the beast first. Of course, not all evil beasts are from beyond the veil. There are evil beasts already living on this side. Yutalu questions what is their plan then? Is it to farm an evil beast army or something like that? Karsus questions or is it that they want to take over the empire with that army? What would they get out of that? She asks them that they don't think that the empire is loved by everyone, do they? Karsus tells her she is right. Other nearby kingdoms and savage tribes will be glad of it. He guesses that he was thinking from the empire's view. Yutalu calls out to her and tells her if they go back to the scene, can she find out what kind of spell it is? She tells him probably she can, but Karsus states that he does not think it is wiser to go. She seems hesitant, but he suddenly calls out to Yutalu and asks him if he can talk to him for a moment. She realizes that he probably does not want to talk about the details to someone who might have a connection to Evil Beast. She gets up and tells him she will be leaving them and he can talk. He grins and thanks her as she steps away. She also thinks she should call Arcana to send another sorcerer. Yutalu asks Karsus what is it that he wanted to talk about. Karsus tells Yutalu that they were after Sika. He tells him that they called her a witch and wanted to kill her. Yutalu asks if it is because she is a sorcerer. It was wrong of him to assume they will also accept sorcerers just because they also have a Sessarak. They know people like discriminating and they discriminate and reject all those who are not them. Karsus mentions that in return it makes them closer to each other and benefit each other. He knows he cannot tell her that she might have a connection with the evil beast and they'd better not go back to the forest. He's aware that she was badly shaken more than anything. Yutalu questions, but do they not need her help? Karsus is aware that they cannot ask for help on a potential life-threatening matter. Yutalu asks him if it is not better to tell her the truth and ask for help. He is thankful he brought a sorcerer, but it's no use if she cannot help. Karsus realizes that is true and mentions he will talk to her. He ponders that he thinks she might run away with that reaction and all. Yutalu asks him if he is only eating cabbage soup, stating that if he wants to get sick he can have more. Karsus responds he is fine and he will go up then. Yutalu tells him to do something with his hair before he talks to her as he looks like a mess. Karsus calls him darling and says a man who criticizes his looks is unlovable and runs away, making Yutalu very angry. Meanwhile, Sika thinks that she is done packing. She ponders that she should say goodbye before she goes. Karsus notices her and calls out to her. He asks her where is she going. She tells him that she is thinking of heading to the capital. Remember that she told him she was looking for someone. He tells her that he was going to help her with that. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part.